Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Alexander Isak transfer news. Newcastle striker training at Real Sociedad, amid uncertainty over future. Newcastle striker Alexander Isak training alone at Real Sociedad amid uncertainty over his future, and links with a move to Liverpool. Newcastle are aware of Isak's whereabouts as he recovers from a minor thigh injury the club says has kept him out of their pre-season tour in Asia. Alexander Isak is training alone at his former club Real Sociedad's training facilities amid uncertainty over his Newcastle future. It is understood Newcastle are aware of Isak's whereabouts as he recovers from the minor thigh injury that the club say has kept him from traveling to Singapore for their pre-season tour. The 25-year-old has informed Newcastle that he wants to explore his options in this transfer window after Liverpool made an informal approach for the striker. The former Real Sociedad striker is using the Basque club's facilities with his staff when they are empty for his recovery. If Isak were to leave Newcastle, his former club would receive 10% of every euro above a €70 million, £60.5 million, transfer fee. Sociedad will also get 2% through FIFA's Solidarity Program, 0.5% for every season he was with the club. Isak joined the Spanish club in 2019 from Borussia Dortmund, spending 3 years with the La Liga side before joining Newcastle in the summer of 2022 for a club record £63 million fee. Liverpool made an informal approach for Isak earlier this month before signing Hugo Ekitike, and it is believed they remain huge admirers of Isak. Ekitike had been a target for Newcastle before it became clear he was intent on moving to Liverpool. Newcastle have missed out on a number of targets this summer, despite qualifying for the Champions League, and have endured a troubled pre-season, losing 3 games in a row. Prior to Wednesday's surprise 1-0 defeat to a K-League 11 in South Korea, Newcastle boss Eddie Howe admitted that Isak's future may be out of his hands amid intense links to Liverpool. Howe said of Isak's future, "He is still our player. He's contracted to us. We, to a degree, control what is next for him. I would love to believe all possibilities are still available to us. My wish is that he stays, but that's not in my full control. We have not received a formal offer for Alex from any club. My wish is that he stays and we see him playing again next year." Isak has 3 years left to run on his current deal, so Newcastle are said to be in a strong bargaining position and value the player at £150 million. Why has Isak chosen to explore his options now? Isak is frustrated that he was denied the opportunity when Liverpool made an informal approach. Ekitike, who was essentially meant to be his replacement at Newcastle, moved to Liverpool instead. From the outside looking in, that was another door closing for Isak. Eddie Howe said something that stuck out to me in his post-match press conference after the friendly against Celtic. He said, "I am really aware it's a short career for a footballer. That, to me, is something that's likely been communicated to him by Isak or his representatives. I think Isak feels, having been at Newcastle for 3 years, scoring 62 goals and helping them win the Carabao Cup last season, he has done what he set out to achieve. Isak's development has been almost faster than the club's. I'm not saying he's outgrown Newcastle, but he's in a position where he is one of the best strikers in Europe playing for a team that doesn't really have the opportunity to win the Premier League, you would suggest. He is ambitious, wants to win trophies, and feels he should be earning £250,000 to £300,000 per week. He's not earning that at Newcastle, and he knows the other top strikers in the Premier League are earning that money. I think he doesn't want to be denied the possibility of that earning potential." Alexander Isak training in Spain, journalist, fully expects Liverpool move. Alexander Isak is working away from Newcastle's facilities as the striker pushes for a move to Liverpool, which one local journalist fully expects to go through. Isak was left out of Newcastle's squad for their tour of Singapore and South Korea, with the club claiming a thigh issue. But the overriding factor is that the Sweden striker is seeking a transfer to Liverpool, who are expected to make a formal bid as early as this week, having registered their interest over a fortnight ago. With Eddie Howe and his players currently in Seoul, where they will face Tottenham in a friendly on Sunday, Isak has instead traveled to Spain. Sky Sports report that the 25-year-old is working with a personal fitness coach at the training ground of former club Real Sociedad, who will benefit from a 10% sell-on clause in any deal. This comes following claims from TBR Football that Isak was absent without leave, though those suggestions are currently unsubstantiated. What is known is that Isak is desperate to join the Premier League champions and that a formal bid is likely to land in the coming days. Sky Sports' Keith Downey, in an update on YouTube, confirmed that Isak had not been working at Newcastle's training ground and said he fully expects a deal. Isak could move for £135 million. If Liverpool come to the table and offer a big offer, that deal will get done. It's just whether Liverpool can come up with the funds or not, Downey explained. I know Newcastle have set the fee at £150 million and that's what they want. I think they'll end up doing a deal for around about £135 million, something like that, which still smashes the Premier League record. I just think what's the point in having a player who's unsettled, who's unhappy, who's maybe causing some problems? Newcastle are already busy sourcing a replacement, but that search has proved difficult, with Man United now prioritizing a move for RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko, according to The Athletic's David Ornstein. Moves for both Liam Delap and João Pedro have already fallen short, while Brentford have held firm in their stance over Yoane Wissa despite sizable bids. Fulham's Rodrigo Muniz and Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins have also been linked, while Newcastle continue to be touted with a move for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is now a free agent. If they miss out on Sesko, an alternative will have to be identified before an exit for Isak would be considered. The Mail's Craig Hope has claimed Liverpool, despite the perception among many Newcastle fans, have a positive relationship with those at St. James Park, in particular owing to Howe's friendship with Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. Alexander Isak's statement on his future and what he wants from his career speak volumes. Newcastle's Alexander Isak wishes to explore his options as Liverpool consider a huge bid for the striker, and the striker's past comments suggest what he's looking for from his next club. Want-away Newcastle striker Alexander Isak previously outlined his ambitions to win titles, with Premier League champions Liverpool gearing up to make their move. The Reds have wasted no time in sharpening their squad for the upcoming season with a series of high-profile and expensive acquisitions, and they still want the Swedish striker through the doors at Anfield. With Liverpool ready to show their hand, Isak's head has been turned. But maybe the clues to Isak's future were there all along, as speaking back in March, the 25-year-old communicated his desire to land the game's biggest trophies. While he acknowledged his commitment to the Magpies, his words suggest that Isak is perhaps looking for a level of success and a contract that Newcastle simply cannot supply right now. With the club having been hamstrung by PSR, profit and sustainability regulations, I've said many times, I don't really look too much or think too much about my future, Isak said 4 months back. Making clear his desire to win top-level silverware, he continued, but yeah, I've said I'm happy here, and we are contenders for titles, which is what you want to win as a football player. The chances are there to win things. Yeah, as I've said, I'm not thinking about the summer, but that will be a talking point when the season is finished. No contract talks have been held yet. I have high ambitions. I am trying to create my own history at Newcastle. Happy with what I have done so far, but always looking forward. Isak is now believed to be privately frustrated after Liverpool's initial approach was rebuffed by the North-East side. As per Sky Sports, last week, Newcastle boss Eddie Howe confirmed that Isak would not be joining Newcastle's pre-season tour after the player informed the club he wanted to explore his options regarding his future. The Swede's absence was blamed on a minor thigh issue. But this followed an episode where Isak was sent home ahead of Newcastle's 4-0 pre-season defeat to Celtic, with Howe judging that the player wasn't in the right frame of mind to play following speculation over his future. Events were then complicated by Liverpool's capture of Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt for an initial £69 million, a player who was extensively chased by Newcastle. Isak reportedly saw this as a possible end to his hopes of moving to Anfield, however. It seems that Reds boss Arne Slot is looking to structure an audacious system that features Isak and his new French striker. In his 3 years at Newcastle, Isak has become an icon. He has scored 62 goals and helped them win the Carabao Cup last season, beating the very club in the final he purportedly wishes to join this summer. Yet Isak's ambitions are clear and speak volumes. He wants to win trophies. And as one of the Premier League's best strikers, He also wants to earn a befitting wage, with upwards of £250,000 per week said to be his target. Earlier this month, Isak's agent, Gonzalo Gaitan, told Saudi Arabian publication Ariadia that Isak's future may be coming to a conclusion sooner rather than later. "We are indeed studying and analyzing all options," he said. "We may be close to finalizing the next step for the player, without revealing any details regarding whether Isak will transfer or stay with Newcastle. Yet for all the bluster and might of Liverpool's current power in the transfer market, still no bid has materialized yet. Isak also has 3 years left to run on his current deal. Newcastle are also believed to value the player at £150 million, meaning Liverpool will most likely have to shatter the British transfer record, again, by some margin to drag a deal over the line. Quizzed on Isak's future this week, Howe said, "He is still our player. He's contracted to us. We, to a degree, control what is next for him. I would love to believe all possibilities are still available to us. My wish is that he stays, but that's not in my full control. We have not received a formal offer for Alex from any club. My wish is that he stays and we see him playing again next year." Alexander Isak spotted at former club after going AWOL amid Liverpool transfer saga. Newcastle striker Alexander Isak did not travel on the club's pre-season tour of Asia, and while the Magpies said his absence was due to an injury, it is clear that he wants to leave the club. Alexander Isak has apparently been training at Real Sociedad's training ground amid reports he has gone AWOL from Newcastle due to his desire to secure a transfer to Liverpool. Isak did not travel on Newcastle's pre-season tour of Asia last week, and while the St James Park club's official reason for his absence was that he was injured, it soon emerged that Isak had asked to explore a move away from the northeast. Liverpool holds a long-standing interest in the striker, and despite spending a lot of money already this summer, it is understood that a deal to sign Isak would be financially viable due to the Reds' outgoings. Liverpool secured an $88 million fee for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich earlier this week, after the sales of Jarell Quansah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Queven Kelleher, and Nat Phillips earlier in the summer raised around $75 million. Isak has reportedly agreed personal terms on a 6-year contract at Anfield, but it remains to be seen whether the Reds can strike a deal with Newcastle for the Swede's signature. Despite officially being injured, Spanish outlet Diario Vasco reports that Isak has been maintaining his fitness at his old club. Isak spent 3 years at Sociedad between 2019 and 2022. Newcastle would undoubtedly demand a Premier League record fee to part ways with Isak this summer, with some suggestions that the Magpies could demand $199 million for the 25-year-old. Newcastle is under no financial pressure to sell Isak, but the club may decide it is in its best interests to do so, as Eddie Howe may not want to go into the new season with an unhappy star on his hands. That kind of money could also help Newcastle to improve its squad significantly during the final few weeks of the transfer window. One player who Newcastle has seemingly identified as a possible replacement for Isak is RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko, who has been highly touted as a top striking prospect for several years. Sesko had been heavily linked with Arsenal in recent years before the Gunners reached an agreement to sign Viktor Gyökeres, and the 22-year-old Slovenian is said to be eyeing a move to the Premier League this summer. However, Sesko's reported preference would be to join Manchester United, which could have a knock-on effect on Liverpool's chances of landing Isak. If Sesko moves to Old Trafford, that would send Newcastle back to the drawing board with regards to identifying a possible replacement for Isak. Newcastle is working on a deal to sign Yoane Wissa from Brentford, but signing Wissa alone would not suffice, considering Callum Wilson also left the club earlier in the summer. Thanks for watching. Like and comment and subscribe.